It's just waiting for everyone. So I'm just gonna play some music for you guys. Just do some waiting music. Okay, so I'm just gonna start now. So 9:45 Pacific time. So what I like to do to start my day off is I want to look where the market's going. So I'm gonna look through all the futures, and so the one that most people look at is the S&P 500. Uh, so that's one thing you want to look at. So looking at this already, we're in an uptrend. So we just had a pullback. But one thing that I would notice right now that's very important is how many times we touched a certain area of 330, 1, 2, and then we made a doji, a red doji. So we don't know where the market's going, but we can either go up or we could go down. And we could touch this 25, this blue line right here I have between 332.25 and 332.50 and 325, like 32.50 and 332.64 area. So that's the area that's kind of important. That's where you kind of broke out. But the one that's really important is really testing this area before we go back up. And I don't think the Fed will sell off. So where we're going from here, we always want to check all the commodities. So we want to check the Dows or the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has been key in the sell-off right here. So this is the first time the NASDAQ has touched the 50. So we're kind of right there. We could bounce or fall, but let's just hope for a bounce. So we are in this uptrend, and we had a pullback. Yeah, the green red DLA fired for a short signal. But looking right here, it's like we never broke this uptrend. So I don't know where the market's going. I'm going to try to go long on this. But if I want to draw like right here on the NASDAQ on like how you draw the zones, basically what I would do, let me just clear the NASDAQ. So I always start from the monthly. So the reason why I start from the monthly, I want to get a better view of what has been going on since the NASDAQ broke out. So usually what I do, I start from drawing a horizontal line. So horizontal line in blue. So this tells me that there was areas right here, right in this area right here, and way back right here. But this is not enough. So I always like what I do is I create an area, and this creates a monthly area that I want to pay attention to. So between these areas right here, way back from the first run up in the NASDAQ to now, this is the area that it kind of recouped for after the bubble popped. So we just have a lot of confluence right here and just pinging back and forth trying to break out on the NASDAQ. And so I see another one right here, and in this area right here where we have like pinging back and forth in a certain area. So that's what I see. These don't count as zones because there's no there's no buyers and sellers, no one fighting, basically. You always want to look for where their area they're fighting for buying and selling. It's all supply and demand. You don't have to think so much. You just have to think, where are they buying and where are they selling? So NASDAQ right here, we're back on the weekly. That's important. You always want to look sometimes on the weekly to get more information. I don't see. So looking back right here, I can see like this would be like a weekly right here. So we're gonna change this. We're gonna change this to a green color. So green color just signifies like, okay, right here, this is a valid resistance, because right here we tapped this in January of 2019, and then we went back up. So where else do I see that's important on the NASDAQ? So yeah, this area right here is kind of important. This creates another zone. So now we have another zone right here on the weekly. So if we could draw that, we could draw it as a really... We're just going to draw this in the top, like right here. And then you get to make it bigger, but you just want to be careful not to fool yourself, because this is a big area on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ can move a lot on the weekly. So you just want to make it small enough, it covers certain areas. So now we're at the daily. So, I always like to look at the daily just to find certain things and that I cannot notice when I'm on the weekly. So on the weekly, I make it green, and then another thing that I do for the daily, I make it red. So I'm just gonna make this red, and this is this one right here. This, if we go back, why I made it red, I see like right here basically. Let's zoom in. These candles right here. This is a resistance. We tap right here, bounced off the monthly. Try to go back up, bounced off. We sold off, and we consolidated in this tie area. This is a zone right now. So, sorry. Okay, so right here I see a lot of confluence where there's buyers and sellers trying to fight. And then sellers won this round, but buyers went back in. This area right here, you can mark this as a chop zone. This is where we have a lot of consolidation for the market decided for a direction. So, yeah, this is probably the best example I have end of right now what we're experiencing of October and September. We have 3 weeks of chop. So I'm expecting chop right now again, like this. This is the trade war chop that I have labeled on ES. That's where I lost a lot of money. Another thing is that when you peel back the layer, you start noticing things. So like right here, I'll mark this because this was a resistance, a minor resistance, and then a support. We tried to bounce off right here in this area, but then we've kept falling. And then this again became a support, and then we just kept going up. So sometimes it's always good to label all previous all-time highs. So I usually do them in a different color. So like last year. So let's do this. I usually do it as a quarterly resistance. So that means it's always going to be a gold color. And right here, previous all-time high, we didn't have any trouble right here. We just kept going, then we just bounced and just kept running. One other thing I see right here that's kind of important, this area is where we kind of try to tap, and then we this go up right here, but then we just topped out, and then we just consolidate. So this would be a really good valid zone. So I'll make this a red color, another red color right here, because I see that we're consolidating in this certain area, and then this is where we just keep going up. And so why I'm not bullish or bearish, because we just tapped this earlier again. So we tapped this area, and the market is trying to find direction right now. And so if we look at the volume, that's important. If you pay attention to the volume, the sell side volume on Friday is small, whereas the green volume has been consistent, on the way up. So now we need to see what's the next volume bar. Is it going to be red or is it going to be green? So I did this for the NASDAQ, but we can also do this for the IWMs. So I always do like to do the futures. So IWM. This is the other future you don't. So if we look on IWM, the sell side volume is much bigger on IBM than the other tickers on the NASDAQ. Um, so if we look, let's delete all these lines for IBM, and then we're gonna go over some tickers. So for the $300 account. So again, I'm going for the monthly, and I'm going to check where can we do for the IWMs. But usually the IWMs don't have great historical charts. That's why you always do like the IWM ETFs, so that way you can tell, because it's more information from way back. And so I already did this, and I can tell you, I can just show you again how I did it. So let's delete everything, and we're gonna go for monthly. So we're gonna do this one right here. I see this one as a monthly resistance before we kind of went up. So let's make this blue. So blue, and then because we tapped this area and then we sold off. And then we're right here. So I also see another one right here. I see another one right here. Where we were right here. There's a resistance. And another resistance, a consolidation right here. And now it became a support area. So that's how you see this one in this area. So then we go to another area right here. I see this part as a resistance and then support right here. Because it's a consolidation wedge. We tried to go up, but we failed. So, and another one right here. Let's see. Can we find another one? We can find another one. Oops. We can find another one right here. And here. So, the first time we gapped up on this month, we consolidated, and then we try to make new highs. And then we failed, so we sold off. So now we're going to peel back the layers, and then we're going to go by the weekly charts. So the weekly charts will tell you more information on the weekly basis. So let's see. You always want to peel back the layers and just see. So right here, I already see that this qualifies as a green resistance. So the general rule is old resistances become support. So just want to nail that. So I'm always looking where like we sold off and then we consolidated in a certain area. So this one right here counts as a zone. This is a really big important zone if we ever sold off, but we have not been there, so we're fine. And then let's see, right here I start to see a certain area that I want to pay attention to. So this little tiny area right here, this is like a support, like because we consolidated in this area on the weekly, and then when we are here, we just went back up. So another one right here I see is this area. So this one right here is now a zone. So I'm going to span this out right here, and then I'm going to make this a yellow supply zone. So I have two major colors when it comes to zones, yellow and purple. Yellow signifies a demand zone, and purple signifies a supply zone. So yellow for demand, purple for supply. So right here, I see this really clearly on the weekly, how many times we have consolidated in this particular area. I didn't mark this on the monthly charts because I was not sure, but now on the weekly, we can see it clearly that this area right here is a really important consolidation area, because where we consolidated and tapped 1, 2, 3 times where we gapped up on the up on the weekly, that was considered a breakout. And so the green arrow fired right here but you could have taken it on this pullback week and then held your position. So that's pretty good. So another thing I see is on the weekly, trying to like make it narrower, is this area. So this area has been really important for IWM. I think we consolidated not once in 2018, but pretty much throughout 2019, from March to November before we broke out to IWMs. And so right here we're back in this area again, so we haven't really made new highs again on IDLM on the weekly. So now, let's see, we should mark this one right here, because this is new consolidation area on the IDLMs. And then, so on the daily candle, always want to look, where can we find daily resistance? So usually I go for the toppest candles on particular tickers. So let's do this one. Okay, there we go. So this one is a red color. And this one right here, that's a blue color. That's okay. So right here, I see this could be count as a red color. So I'm just narrowing it down, trying to establish certain zones on the weekly, daily time frame. And so if I see this certain area right here, because I'm going back on WLM, it makes sense for me to buy the dip right here. I don't care what the news say. It just touched an area that I'm interested to buy. And I see right here, yeah, this is where we broke out. We consolidated really hard for a week. So I'll mark this. I mean, I have no qualms marking it. It's an area where we bounced. So let's do right there. So we touch here and we consolidate here, and before we move back up, I'm pretty much buying the dips in IDLM. So that's the whole method on zone trading, and you always want to pay attention to the sell side volume. The sell side volume is a lot bigger on IDLM, and you can see that. Another one that I see. So let's go over some tickers for the official $300 account watch list. Oh shoot, I forgot about McDonald's. Okay, so the official watch list for the $300 account challenge. It's Abivai. Okay, so Abivai, Biotech, the sell side volume was a lot bigger. So just looking at these zones I made way back, and I don't think I want to change them. So we kind of gapped up and went on the monthly. And then look at where we are right now. Abivai has sold off. So just looking at this right now, we have, we touched the weekly support, basically. We made doji right there on the daily candle. And if we look back on the weekly, the sell side volume right now has not it's going to continue until we cover some gaps. So this could be a triple top. But we always want to wait, for consolidation of green candle to go up. Until then, all the EMAs, the 8 and the 20 are about to cross. But on the weekly, we're still above the 50 EMA. So if we touch right here and we bounce, this would be a good time to buy for shares for Abivai because they pay good dividends. So this area right here from let's see, 80, 86 to 88. That's a dip buy. So AMD is another one on the $300 account challenge watch list. So AMD right now is a really interesting one. Yeah, we tried to go all-time highs, but we rejected really hard and we sold off. So me being lazy and not really accepting good zones, let's just delete this one, and then we're just gonna go back. So let's start with the monthly, because the monthly will tell you like if this is all-time highs or not. So AMD's all-time highs was $40, I think. Yeah, so $40 on AMD. Let's make this one a blue line. And another one right here. I see one right here that counts as blue line because we touched right here and we sold off. Another one right here, so that counts. Don't really like these spider wicks. I always try to draw them on top of near the body of the candle if we are trying to draw support and resistances for our zone. So this won't count. I won't draw that. So, but if we go on the weekly, that's where I'm more interested. So this one right here on the weekly time frame, I see a zone. So in this zone right here on the weekly chart, you see that we consolidated right here on AMD before we gapped up. This is a really important area now, because then we consolidated right here, we fought before we pushed up. And then right here on the weekly time frame, we're starting to see a little bit more areas. So right here, let's draw this one as a zone, because then we try to make all-time highs right here, we reject it, and we sold off. And right here, I see a support right here. I want to draw that, and know that this area right here, and I'm going to make this a box. This is a really important area, because then we consolidate right here. And if we kind of look back in AMD, it's always the same story. So we gap up, sold off, and we consolidate really hard from 2010 to all the way to 2017. So in this area right here, we're gonna mark this. We're gonna mark this as a zone. But it's gonna get really hard and tough because you don't know on the weekly time frame. But we'll just mark it anyways, and then we just start peeling back the layers. All right, so in this, I would probably have changed this now to a daily because I wasn't sure at first. So now I'm just gonna change this as a daily zone. So this was counted right here because I can mark this as a zone because we just sold off. We had sellers right here. Buyers right here. And then we just we got picked back up and then we just went up more. So all-time highs right here, I marked these. So I'm just make this a gold color. Gold, yellow. And then we have gaps right here on AMD. So I would mark these gaps right here, but I always would mark them as a different color. So just being aware, these are gaps that AMD has to fill. If we fill gaps, that's really healthy for a pullback. Look to buy the dips on AMD because these gaps have not been filled. So we peel back more, just trying to find more information. We always want to look at the 4-hour time frame. And to trade with the 4-hour is something that I usually do because I just swing trade if needed. Actually, I swing trade a lot. So right here, we found that there was buyers right here on AMD. So let's mark this as a purple. I use intraday for purple, and this is how I mark it on the 4-hour. So on the 4-hour time frame, I see this area, small little area right here where AMD, we had buyers on AMD right here. Is this valid? No, I don't know. If we consolidate right here, I will change this purple line and this tiny zone right here to like a real permanent one, like the dailies, weekly, and monthly. And nothing on AMD right now is permanent for these zones, but it's just something I pay attention to. Just remind myself, okay, where are the buyers right now? So, just looking at the 4-hour candle, there's really no buyers right now. And we look at the daily. The sell side volume right now is even with the buy side volume. So if volume picks up on the short side, look to short to fill the gaps. Your first target to cover is just giant area right here on AMD. It's massive. It's a large gap that needs to be filled. And if you want to buy AMD for long, this would be a good secondary ties to cost average down. The next one on the official watch list, Bank of America. I know this is a cheap stock, and it really gives us good returns when we go in the money or out of the money for Bank of America. So right here, I just drew some important areas of consolidation, and mostly I drew this from the 4-hour time frame. But if we drew it right on like how we're following the rules of how to draw your support and resistance for technical analysis, well, let's just delete the charts and then we're going to start over. So we're going to start from the monthly time frame. So the monthly time frame, this will be the all-time highs for Bank of America. Bank of America's all-time highs was around this area of 41 and 38.50. So let's mark that. We have not gotten there yet. We were close, but we couldn't do it. So, and then I'm going to go back to, oops. I'm going to go back to marking this area right here. This is a monthly resistance because I'm just looking back right here. Consolidated really hard right here, could not make a move on the banks. And this area right here for Bank of America, how many times we consolidated this particular area before we, in April, we start moving up more. So same thing right here. We're just looking for a monthly support and resistance. So I see it right here in this area right here from $12 to $15. That this area has been really important. So we're just keeping we're marking certain areas again. Remind yourself this particular large area is a really big trouble area for Bank of America. So all of them, these blue lines, all monthly. And now we start peeling back the layers. So now we're on the weekly time frame. The weekly time frame, we're looking for areas that we consolidate really hard, and we got multiple rejections. So already right here, I see in this particular area on the weekly time frame, I'm going to change this to blue, green. And we see that this area has been pretty damn strong as a magnet that we can't get up. We tap this area so many times. So probably a really long consolidation of banks. Took about a whole year for Bank of America to break out. So we can mark this. This could be another zone for Bank of America. This would be a really strict purple zone. So this is a purple zone, can't get out on the weekly time frame. And then, wow, okay. So looking right here, Bank of America's previous all-time highs. I don't know when we get there, but we're just going to pay attention to the present. So we marked that. Now we're on the daily time frame. This is a really big zone. I mean, we're gonna have to break it down. So if we want to trade this, we don't want to like have big giant zones. We always want to look at the smaller time frames to start trading and make realistic price targets. So I will delete that. That's a good weekly zone, but if I'm trading this, that's too big because Bank of America moves pretty slow. It moves like 80 cents to $1. So it's a slow mover. So right here I marked this as a daily support and resistance because we tap this area a certain number of times before we reject it, and then we consolidate it and reject it. So now we're just consolidating in this area right here. So volume on the banks right now, it's mixed. But the one thing I'm looking at is the EMMAs, the 50 and the 200 in red and the 50 in green are about to cross. So 20, I used the 20 in yellow, and the 20 is in purple, the 8 is in yellow. So those are my lines for what EMMAs I use. And I use the DOA indicator just to tell me, what's up with the market. So let's see. So this is a valid zone now if we're trading it, but you always want to go on a 4-hour time frame for Bank of America because you see more with Bank of America on the 4-hour time frame. So right now, Bank of America bounced off the 4-hour time frame. Make this yellow. See where we bounced off on Bank of America on the 4-hour time frame. We bounced off right here. This is the area that Bank of America had sold off to a certain area, and we found buyers. And also in the 4-hour time frame, we kind of see these candles. This is something you don't see on the daily. So you mark these areas. So we're going to mark them purple. Probably want to do a bigger purple, lighter purple. So this 4-hour time frame right here on Bank of America, let's make this much smaller. And we can see a certain area now. If we sold off right here and we kept selling off, and you want to buy Bank of America for long, this would be a good area to buy. So what is the resistance on the 4-hour time frame for Bank of America? Let's hide the DOA sniper. Raise tail right here, this area right now. We're having a lot of trouble with this upper area. So if we go there, Bank of America, take profits there, because that's where you want to take profit. Okay, so right there. And another area I see right now, I see this area right here where we have trouble. Because we can't get above here. So, and entries. Like, how do you know when to take entry? Usually what I do, I like to use the 15-minute candle for entries. Because it just makes you more patient. So entries, if we trade Bank of America, and I will want to go long in Bank of America. So I will look if we had sell side activity. So right here, since we touched this zone, this resistance right here, and we kind of touched this particular zone on the 15-minute time frame. Let's do purple. So we touched right here and rejected. But, when we went into this zone, I knew that I could go long on Bank of America. Because if we entered the demand zone, and we went up on Bank of America the next day. Kind of interesting is if we tap a certain zone, and we consolidate in this certain area, I have alerts to buy Bank America when we enter into the demand zone. I trade like that, and I also use the prints to confirm my thesis. So I trade off the equity blocks and the dark pool prints, the sweeps, the blocks, and the splits. I trade off of those, and I know when we tap in a certain area, I'm looking to buy. I have alerts. So another one I like, and the setup's pretty good for to go long. I like Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola right now, pretty lazy. So I kind of explained how to draw zones on 3 different charts, or 4. So right now I see that Coca-Cola, where we ended on Coca-Cola, we could go long on Coca-Cola because we ended the day on Coca-Cola in this area where we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times when we touch a certain area. So let's draw that. We're going to draw a zone right here. And then we're going to make this a teal zone. It's a speed bump zone. So I just call it a speed bump zone. Just using Don Farm rules of like a speed bump. This is a speed bump zone. We don't know where we're going to go. But if we hit right here at the 51.33 and we stay up there, well, you are clear to swing this, making when it makes higher highs to this target area for a swing. And right now on the 15-minute candle, and we look at the 4-hour, I like where we ended up. And we're in this area right here, so this tells me I can safely go long on Coca-Cola. So, so I just covered about. Oh, another one, Disney. Disney. Let's delete this comment. So Disney is in this wedge pattern. Let me just delete this line, this trend line right here. Usually I don't like to draw trend lines because it just takes away from the message. So certain area right here we pay attention to Disney. This is a consolidation pattern. This is a very big consolidation pattern because it has lasted Disney for 2 weeks now on the 4 hours. So look back on the weekly time frame. Disney is right here, and this 4-hour time frame on Disney tells me that I can go long on Disney for a pop because the 4-hour time frame tells me this is a really strong area in Disney where buyers might be here and we might be going up, tapping the upper zone of this purple area. This is right here, I consider this as a very big supply zone because we cannot break out of this area. I will convert this into a demand zone when we break out and we go all-time high, maybe like this area right here, and we touch the upper area of this zone, like maybe in 137 or 135. We tap here, 135, and we bounce. That's considered a demand zone now. So right here, I consider this as a demand zone because I'm looking right here how many times we rejected on Disney on this area. We can go back to the last time Disney was here. And this is how I know this area has been pretty strong for Disney. Just going back last year. So, nothing has changed in this zone. I'm not going to change a zone. I would change a zone when a zone has invalidated themselves as a new area of support and resistance, or area where buyers are there. That's when I invalidate the zone, and I would change the color of the zone to a purple to yellow. The blue line, the blue box is also a speed bump zone. So, you see like blue or green as a speed bump zone, just know like, I don't know where the stuff can go. We could go up or down. But in Disney's case, we just went up. So, that's awesome. And so I'm just going to go over those on the watch list for now. And that's about it for, well, I think I went in early. So I'll probably cover one more. And so let's kind of like leave the rest of the hour. I'm going to talk about other people's tickers. TLT, this one is messier and not something you want to look at because I'm not very neat when it comes to TLT. But I just can give you an update on the bonds, basically. So, okay, so just kind of hiding all my lines. I can already tell that the bonds want to break higher, so when we break higher in the bonds, the market doesn't like that. So that means cash is leaving the equity market and into the bond market. We never want that because, you know, all our calls are worthless, but we're in puts. It's gonna be bearish for the market. So if we have anything going to TLT, like the last couple of days, if TLT keeps running, well, the market doesn't like that, and because the bonds are safety nets, so it was getting a good return for calls. You want to trade the bonds. This whole run up right here in the bond market, we're selling off when we're going up. That was a warning sign that the market was going to be topping off. You never want to have the bond market running with the equity market. So TLT, if it goes up, that's bad. So starting right here, market was making all-time highs. That was getting more fishier, and then finally, the market retraced really hard. Very interesting, how the bond market works. So we'll be trading this as well, just as like to introduce to people the inverse of the market. If you're short on the market and you're late on your shorts, just trade the bond market because the bond market, you know, this candle right here, I mean the contracts are cheap enough. These can't on. Let's look at 15-minute candle. So right here, this candle right here, this return is pretty huge, and the contracts themselves are dirt cheap. You can easily get a 80% return on an in-the-money contract, and you just held it for a couple days on TLT. So just starting right here, that right there is a 1% move on TLT, and what that tells us is that we're going to make a move soon. So just looking at it right here, it's kind of important because one of your contracts, you buy a contract right here on the 15-minute candle, that's a pretty good return. TLT chart is never pretty. It's not pretty at all. So, you don't see patterns on TLT, but you have to look at TLT on the 4-hour time frame or smaller time frames to trade this because there's always volume on the bonds. It's just how you trade it because it's always going to be like 1 day or 2 day or like a daily intraday kind of swing. So we can trade this intraday or we can trade this as a swing trade. But we never want to keep TLT over a certain period. So the areas that TLT always has trouble with, and it's always been like this, is 170. You see 170, you can just short TLT as of now until we get over 170. But that will cause negative interest rates in the market. So we can't have that yet. So the Fed is actively controlling this, trying to like buy back the bonds. Banks are trying to sell them. So when they get their hands on them, they sell them out on the 20-year treasuries. So that's TLT in a nutshell. I'm gonna leave this for open questions. So I'm gonna answer questions. You guys can type your ticker. Don't mind my TLT chart. It's a lot. Oh yeah, and I always learn pension. This is TLT's box. We'll be consolidating for a very long time in this box. That's why I always say we're stuck in a box. Market can't have this. You sell off, we'll sell off. We have to sell off for the market to move higher. Okay. So, okay, got one. Nicola. Ew. Okay. Nicola's pretty damn ugly. Okay, so we're gonna draw. So we're gonna go Nicola first. So right there, that's a zone. And look where we kind of touched off the 50 EMA. But I'm not really convinced because the volume on Nicola on the sell side activity is just pretty huge. So if we're gonna short this, and if Trevor Miller cannot prove his claims about his truck working, so this is a zone right here because how many times we tapped, or here on the daily, we gap down. So that's a zone right there to pay attention to. Yeah. Another zone right here. So another zone right here on Nicola. So let's see. Nicola right now, just based on the volume alone, we can actually retest like this area right here. So I don't have any monthly or weekly zones for this because it's a new IPO. So there's not much history I can go back to. So let's make this a purple zone. This one right here, just looking at the volume itself, how much we increase in sell side activity, we're just gonna go lower. Monday, I think we can go lower to how much can Nicola move in one day. So let's do Finviz, and then we're gonna go over and we're gonna find Nicola. It can move $5 in one day. So $5 in one day. We ended a day on Nicola. Gotta find it. Oh, shoot. So 32.13. Okay, so we found a range for Nicola. So 32.13. I'm going to do $32 because I'm just round it down. $5. And if we're looking for an expected move, if I can find it on my phone on TD American Trade, let me just look it up for the expected move. Because all I ever do when I'm starting to trade something, I have to look at the expected move for the week. So we're trading next week's contract because I only care about next week's contracts. So they're pricing in a really hefty $9 move. So let's find that. So we're going to do a horizontal ray. So we're going to add this. So $32 plus 9. $41. So $41. So $41 right here. Put it right here. Somewhere right there. $32 down, so $32. $9 now, so $32 minus $32 minus 9. That's $23. That's a big move for the stock. So $23 right here. Let's make it 24 right there. And then looking at this already, that's a big move. If they're pricing this, we might see it gap down in this certain area right here and then consolidate. Next up, I'm going to do Disney. I'm at Disney Starbucks. So right now on the daily time frame, Starbucks touched my buy zone. So my buy zone. Oh, these are my really old Starbucks lines from last year. I've never changed them at all. So they still apply. And so that's why I never change my lines, because if I look back, I can see in a certain area where I can take profit or buy. This case, we entered my buy zone. I bought right here when we touched the buy zone. See? Touched my buy zone. I'm buying right here because it touched right here. I had alert set there and I bought right there. So right now, if we look at Starbucks, I keep saying Disney. Trend line right now, let's do this. So right now, if we break out on Starbucks, we're going to make higher highs and then we're going to tap this area. So if we do that, I'm looking to sell to this certain area. So let's do, fuck. So let's do horizontal line. We're going to do that. And I'm going to sell into this area. This is a purple area because we can't get over it. And once again, in that purple area, I'm selling right there. That's where I sell. When I enter, I'm always looking for an area to buy. This is the area I wanted to buy. Let's shrink this, because this is the area that we had buyers right here. We consolidated right here before we pushed up. So we're back here, so we can make this a skinny area. So make that skinnier just to tell people, yeah, we tapped this area, we're buying. So that answers one question. And then the next question is airlines. Where do I think airlines is going? Southwest. So let's start on the daily time frame. So the EMMAs right now, the 200 and the 50 are catching up. So I would see if this was true. I would probably put a circle. And then maybe, if we make a def hook as a def cross, we can see more lower side action. We could fill gaps here. So I think we haven't filled those gaps yet. Keep going back because I keep pressing the space bar. So right there, that's a zone and a really big gap. I see we partially filled it basically, but I never got filled. Right here and here, these are areas you want to pay attention to. Okay, right there. So that zone right there, I see a lot of consolidation right now. If we want to look for the next area, we want to look there and here. So I just want to check the weekly real quick so I just don't get confused. So weekly time frame right now, I'm going to probably mark this because this is a very big area. It's a daily. Let's make this one a weekly. Make it green. And then I'm going to do another green area because I want to try to get close as the body of these candles, not the wicks. The wicks don't tell me anything. So on the weekly time frame, we made a inverse hammer. So we could go lower or higher, but I would love to see consolidation before we move higher. And really consolidate really hard, and we have buyers defending this. Otherwise, we'll just make a hook down, and then we're just going to retest this 32.27 in this area right here, 32.7, 38. So let's just put a box. So this right here, this really tiny zone is going to be like a retest. So anytime we kind of retest anything and we consolidate, we can move higher or lower. But we always want to break out a certain level before we, as confirmation. You always want double confirmation if you want to take long or short positions. So that's what I look for. So if I'm trading this on the 15-minute candle and I'm intraday trading, so 15-minute candles are kind of slow. If I'm trading this on an intraday level, I start at the 3-minute. There's a lot of information you can gather on the 3-minute chart sometimes. So a 3-minute chart tells me we gapped up. You know, if we bought in the day, you sold there because that was a resistance. And then if you want short that day, you always want to look for like, okay, we're gonna making higher, lower highs, and then we have buyers, but we couldn't fail. You always want, if you see this long tail with candle on the 3-minute, and then we just break down to another 3-minute candle right there, that's when you kind of like want to look to short things. So you may not get the perfect entry. I'm telling you this, I never get the perfect entry. It's really hard. But if you kind of like have confirmation on the intraday, on the 3-minute you're scalping this is a good scalp on puts. And then you want to always want to cover at a you always want to cover at an area where there's always, you know, there's going to be buyers. So this area right here is a really strong area. So if you look at the 5-minute chart, that's where you want to cover your positions. This is Friday. So, you know, that's the first one. Make it purple. So that's the first part, cover target. And you covered there. And then you could wait because you knew the market that day wasn't going anywhere but chop. So you cover there and then you re-entered. You know, like there's 2 entries for a short scalp. And if we're selling off, you always want to look, you know, this would be like an entry. If the one thing I always look for is like if the 20 is above the 8, or we cross over and we're not making any volume, we're stuck in this kind of like range. Because this right here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we were not moving for an hour, and then we have a volume coming in. And we always look at the first volume. So I would take a short position right here, because this is pretty much qualifies as the 8 is above, the 8 is below the 20. That's a bearish reversal. I did cover that in one video. It's a lot shorter, but you know, this is what I look for. So that's love. And if you want to know where we're going, I don't know yet. So if you're long or short on airlines, you always want to wait for the beginning of the day so you can tell. Because right now we're in this area and it's a weak supply. It's a weak demand zone right now. Just looking at the volume itself, it's kind of weak. I also made a doji, so that's not really helping me out. So dojis, I don't know where we're going. And I always want to wait for that, so I don't have to take a trade all the time. I only take a trade when the setup's pretty good. And there's flow going to it. Okay, so that's all the tickers that I'll be covering for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will be covering spreads and what you need to know about them in the afternoon. So we're going to be dividing that into, because this is all TA, I want to separate this out from trading spreads and just doing this techno analysis and going over the watch list for the semi-permanent watch list for the $300 account challenge. So I'll see you guys in the afternoon. We'll go over this 2 p.m. Pacific time because I am gonna make lunch.